Hi guys, you're welcome back to my channel. All right, so today we're going to be recreating this red dress. Okay, so we're going to be making the yellow one. Now I use the red one as my style inspiration. Please, if you're just coming across my channel, kindly subscribe if you're yet to do that. All right, so let's jump right into the video. Now we're going to be making use of these two fabrics. We'll use the blue one for the top part. Now let's go ahead and do just a little pattern drafting, just a little. Okay, so we're working with a shoulder of 15.5. The 15.5 inches divided by 2 will give us 7.75. all right, now we'll make use of our standard neck width of 3 inches and neck depth of 3 inches. Okay, so I'll go ahead and make these marks and I'll proceed to connect them. Now we're going to slope the front with 1.5 inches. Okay, so I'll go ahead and just connect using my curved ruler. Now I'll go ahead and connect to the shoulder slope of 1.5 inches for the front. All right, and that will be it for the front for now. Now let me just highlight the neckline. Okay, so let's proceed to the back. Now we're marking our neck depth of 1 inch, neck width of 3 inches. All right, and we're working with a shoulder of 7.75. So I'll proceed to connect my back neck depth. All right, now the back shoulder slope is 1 inch. Remember that we sloped the front shoulder with 1.5 inches. So the back is 1 inch. Now I'll proceed to just connect it, and I just did that. Now we're going to proceed to mark her chest line. So to get your chest line, we're simply going to do her bust round divided by 6 plus 1. We're working with a bust round of 37 inches divided by 6 plus 1 will give us 7.1 inches. Okay, and we're going to add the 1 inch for the back slope, so that will give us 8.1 inches. Now I'll proceed to mark it across both the front block and the back. All right, and I'll connect it using a straight line. And here we have it. Our chest line is ready. All right, so I will just label. Now on the chest line, we're going to repeat her shoulder measurement. Remember, we're working with a shoulder of 15.5 inches. So 15.5 inches divided by 2 give us 7.75 inches. So I'll proceed to connect that with a broken line because we don't actually make use of this line. All right, now we're repeating the same thing on the back. So on the chest line, we'll mark her shoulder width divided by 2. Okay, and I'll connect it using a broken line as well. All right, now let's go ahead and mark her bust point. So the first step is going to end on her bust point. Okay, so her bust point is 10 inches. Now I'm placing my tape on the starting point and not on the shoulder slope. So from the starting point, I'll mark my 10 inches, which is her bust point length. Okay, now I also mark it on the center front and on the back. All right, because we need this line to run from the back to the front. All right, so I'll proceed to just connect it using my straight line. So this is the actual length that we are working with from her shoulder to her bust point, which is 10 inches. And here we have it. I have connected. Now I'll just go ahead and label that, okay, as BP, which is my bust point. And that's it. Now the bust round we're working with is 37 inches divided by 4 will give us 9.25 inches. Now we're going to mark this measurement on her chest line, okay, and not on the bust point line. So we're marking 9.25 inches and we're adding 2 inches allowance. Okay, now 1 inch is the ease and the other 1 inch is for the sewing allowance. Now we're going to mark this exact measurement on the bust point line. Okay, we're marking her 9.25 inches, then we're adding 2 inches. All right, now I'll proceed to connect from the chest line to the bust point line. All right, and here we have it. So I'll proceed to connect my armhole. Now for the front armhole, so you need to go up by 3 inches from the chest line. All right, so that's the standard method, and we'll go in by 0.75. Now I'll proceed to connect my armhole All right, so you're using a straight line to connect to the 0.75, and we'll come in with our curve ruler. Now we're going to mark the curve. Okay, we're connecting from her actual bust round divided by 4 and not to the 2 inches allowance that we added. All right, so I just connected to the actual bust round divided by 4. Now we're going to repeat the same thing on the back block. So on the chest line, we're going to mark her bust round divided by 4, and that gave us 9.25 inches. And I'm also going to go ahead and add 2 inches allowance. All right, now I'll repeat the same measurement on her bust point line. Okay, and I'll proceed to connect it. All right, and here we have it. Now I'll go ahead and mark her armhole. All right, so for the back, you need to get the midpoint of the armhole line. Okay, and you come inwards by 1/2 inch. All right, now I'll go ahead and plot the arm side or the armhole curve. Okay, either way is correct. Now, just like we did in the front, we're connecting to her actual bust round divided by 4 and not to the 2 inches allowance that we added. And here we have it. Her armhole curve for the back is ready. Now we'll proceed to alter the neckline. All right, so we'll begin the alteration from the back. Now, the neck depth, the actual neck depth that we're working with is 1.5 inches. Okay, so I'll make a mark there. Now the neck width is 3.5 inches, so I'll make a mark there. All right, so our new neckline is 1.5 inches depth by 3.5 inches width. Now I'll proceed to connect it, and here we have it. All right, so we'll move over to the front neckline so that we can alter it as well. So for the front, the neck width is 3.5 inches and the neck depth is 3.75 inches. Okay, so I'll make a mark there. Now I'll come in with my curve ruler to connect them. All right, so to connect the neckline, it's not fully rounded. Okay, so I would like to first draw a rectangle, all right, before I will proceed to connect the neckline. Okay, so I simply marked the neck width of 3.5. All right, so I'm connecting it to the neck depth of 3.75. Okay, so I'll come in with my curve and I will just curve the edge of the box. Okay, and that's it. Now the style has a front slit. Okay, so this the length of the slit is 4 inches. Now I'll make a mark there. All right, so we're going to go away from the neckline by 0.25. So I'm connecting from the 4 inches slit length to the 0.25, and here we have it. Now we're going to cut this when we transfer to the fabric. Okay, and this is it. Now I'll proceed to add my allowances. So I'm adding 1/2 inch allowance to the bust point length. Okay, 1/2 inch to the neckline, the shoulder, and the armhole. I'll repeat the same thing on the back. All right, and here we have it. I have added all our allowances. Just like I explained, we have 1/2 inch all around. Okay, now I'll proceed to separate the two patterns. Okay, now we need to label the body because we'll be cutting off our initial labeling. Okay, so here's the front and this is the back. All right, now we need to put the unfold sign because we are cutting both the front and the back unfold. And here we have it. Now I'll proceed to cut out. So here we have it. We have cut out both the front and the back. Now we need to proceed to calculate the tiers. Okay, so if you take a look at the style, it has 2 tiers. All right, so we need to come in with our front and the back pattern. All right, so we need to measure what we have on the bust point line. Okay, so for the front we have 11.25 inches. Now you continue these measurements from the back as well. So in total we have 22.5 inches. Okay, now you need to multiply this figure by 2. So 22.5 inches multiplied by 2, that will give us 45 inches. All right, so I'll go ahead and write that down. So that gave us 45 inches. Okay, so now on the fabric we're going to be dividing that into 2. Okay, now let's proceed to calculate the first tier. So for each of the tiers there's a standard method. You multiply by 1.5 inches. Okay, so that's the standard method for a tiered dress. Now we're going to be multiplying the 45 that we got by 1.5, and that will give us 67.5 inches. So this is a figure for the first tier. Okay, now for the second tier we're going to be multiplying the 67.5 inches that we got on the first tier by 1.5 inches as well, and that will give us 101.25 inches. Okay, so this is a standard method for a tiered outfit, whether it's a tiered skirt or a tiered dress. Multiply your figures by 1.5 inches. Okay, so this is what we have. Now let's look at the lengths of each of the tiers. Okay, so now from the shoulder to the bust point, the length that we got when we were drafting, we made use of 10 inches. Okay, so that's it for the first layer. All right, now for the first tier the length is 20 inches. Okay, and the second tier the length is 10 inches. All right, so in total the dress length is 40 inches. Now let's proceed to add our sewing allowances. So we're adding 1 inch to the first level, to the first layer. Okay, so that gives us 11. Now for the first tier, okay, so now for the first tier we're also adding 1 inch as well. All right, so now out of that 1 inch, ½ inch is for joining to the half length, okay, or to the top part, and ½ inch is for joining to the second tier. And for the second tier we're adding 2.5 inches allowance. We're using 2 inches as our hemming allowance and ½ inch for joining to the first tier. All right, and that's it. So a quick recap. Now for the first tier we have a length of 21 inches and a width of 67.5 inches. So this is it for the first tier. Now for the second one we have a length of 12.5 inches and a width of 101.25 inches. All right, so I went ahead to draft a basic sleeve. Okay, I already have a video on that. Now here are the fabrics that we are working with. So I'll proceed to transfer the blue fabric to our pattern. All right, and I'll cut that out. I also proceed to cut out all our tiers. Okay, and I will show us. All right, so here we have it. I have cut out the first layer. Now I also cut out a facing, and the width of the facing is 3.5 inches. So here's the front. I also cut out the facing for the front as well. All right, now let's look at the sleeve. So I cut out a basic short sleeve. The length is 8 inches. Okay, and I just added 2 inches hemming allowance. All right, so it's just a basic sleeve and nothing more. Now let's look at the tiers. Okay, so now for the tiers, for the first tier I cut out a total length of 67.5 inches, okay, and a width of 21. And for the second tier I cut out a total length of 101.25 and a width of 12.5. Now here are the fabrics. I have cut them out. Now for each of the tiers you will have to divide it into 2. Remember, we are joining 1 to the front and 1 to the back. Okay, so this is the first tier with length of 21 inches. Okay, so now for each of them I will go ahead and run a gathered stitch, okay, on them. Now this is the second tier as well. So like I earlier mentioned, you need to divide each of the tiers by 2 because we're going to be attaching 1 to the front and 1 to the back. But if you don't want to have joining on your own, you can go ahead and just cut them as a single piece. Now I cut out a pocket piece, All right, I already have a detailed video on how to attach pocket, but trust me, it's very simple. Now let's look at the joining process. So for each of them, I'll run 2 gather stitches. Okay, I'll run them on the first tier and on the second tier. Okay, on each one I'll run my gather stitches, and I'll go ahead and just draw the gathers, and I'll make them very even. All right, and we'll proceed to look at the joining process. Now let's look at the front. So I will use the facing to turn the neckline. All right, so I'll use the facing to turn the neckline, and I'll give it a good press. Now for the front, I will first interface the facing of the front. I also interface the facing of the back. Now the essence is that it will give it more stability. So here we have it. I have ironed down my hairstay interfacing on the front facing. All right, so we're going to place it right sides facing each other, and I will pin it down. Okay, now we need to mark the center or the midline. All right, so we're going away from the center by 0.25, just the same thing we did when we were drafting. Okay, now I'll go ahead and connect it to the slit length of 4 inches. All right, so it's going to be like a slight V. Okay, and here we have it. Now I'll also go ahead and mark 0.5 inch round the neckline. So we're going to stitch from the neckline into the slit, okay, and to the other end of the neckline, and that's it for the front. Now here we have it. I have turned the front and the back neckline. All right, and I gave it a good press. You can see how flat it's laying. Okay, so I did the same thing on the back as well. Okay, I used the facing to turn the neckline, and I gave it a good press. Now I will still overlock all these rough edges. Okay, now let's look at the tiers. So the first one we're joining is the first tier, okay, which has a length of 21 inches. Now I have drawn my gathers. Okay, so I'll go ahead and join one to the front, and I will join the other one to the back. So I will join this, and I will show us. All right, so after we're done joining the first tier, I will also proceed to join the second tier. Okay, so whatever you're doing to the front is what you're going to do to the back. So here we have it. I have joined the first tier to both the front and the back. I also went ahead to join the shoulder. Now we'll proceed to join the second tier. Okay, so I will join one to the front and one to the back. Now when I'm done, I will hem the lower part, fix the pocket, and join the sleeve. All right, and here we have it. I'm done with the dress. Okay, it's actually easy, all right, and straightforward. Okay, so I love the fitting. It's the fitting for me, and the colors. All right, so thank you guys for watching. Kindly subscribe to my channel if you have not, and hit on the notification bell so you get notified each time I post a new video. All right, you're free to comment on the video, drop your remarks, and you're sure I will definitely attend to all of them. Okay, till we meet again in my next video. Bye.